Look down at your own body for a second. You are the only ape on this planet that cannot clean itself. A chimpanzee needs nothing. No paper, no water, no plan. It handles the entire situation with a body that was built correctly. You need a supply chain. The average American buys 141 rolls a year. That is roughly 3 rolls a week sitting in a cupboard, waiting. 300,000 years of humans had 0 rolls, not 1 square, ever. And they were completely fine. Your body created this problem about 2 million years ago. It has never offered a fix. It never will. So what did every single human before 1857 actually do? The answer runs through a cave in Spain, a shared Roman sponge, and one experiment with 28 volunteers that will change how you sit tomorrow morning. Let's go. 4 layers today. The flaw in your build, what they actually used, the day the whole system broke, and the bill your body is paying right now. Start with the flaw. Everything else follows from it. Sit next to a baboon for 10 minutes. Watch what it does. A baboon has a flat rear end, 2 hard pads of skin called ischial callosities. Nothing folds, nothing hides, nothing traps. Now look at yours. You have a gluteus maximus. It is the largest muscle in your body by volume. Daniel Lieberman at Harvard explained why it got so big. In 2004, he laid out the case in Nature. That muscle is not for sitting. It is a running muscle. Every stride you take, it fires and stops your chest from pitching forward. Chimps barely have one. You needed yours to walk animals into exhaustion across open ground for 4 hours straight. So you got endurance. You got the ability to outlast a deer in July. You also got a deep fold that almost nothing else on Earth has. Evolution does not run a quality check. Then there is the tail. About 25 million years ago, your ancestors lost theirs. A tail lifts. A tail steers. A tail keeps things clear. You have 4 fused vertebrae at the bottom of your spine and a memory. And then you stood up. Bipedalism closed the gap. 2 large muscles pressed together, permanently. Add one more thing. You are a hairless ape. For a chimp, the fur does most of the work and the rest dries and flakes off in a day. You have skin. Bare, soft, and folded. 3 separate upgrades. Running muscles, no tail, no fur. Each one useful. Together, they built a design problem that every human since has had to solve by hand. 99% of your ancestors solved it outdoors. The oldest surviving human waste we have is 50,000 years old. It came out of a rock shelter called El Salt in Alicante, Spain. Ainara Sistiaga analyzed those samples in 2014 and published in PLOS One. Neanderthal, not us. Same problem. She was looking for chemical markers. Coprostanol from meat, 5-beta-stigmastanol from plants. She found both. The famous meat-only Neanderthal was eating vegetables. Here is the detail nobody mentions. Those samples were found around a hearth area, right where people sat. That is the first rule of the ancient world. There was no room down the hall. Now jump 36,000 years forward. Paisley Caves, Oregon. Coprolites 14,300 years old. Same story. Human waste, preserved by dry desert air, sitting in a cave floor where people also cooked. So how did it not become a catastrophe? 2 reasons: numbers and movement. A hunter-gatherer band ran about 25 to 30 people. The Hadza of Tanzania still work this way today. They move camp roughly every 4 to 6 weeks. 30 people producing waste for 1 month is a manageable amount of chemistry. 30,000 people producing it for 40 years is a completely different situation. Hold that thought. Movement did the cleaning. The camp walked away from the problem. There was also a rule, and it was not written anywhere: distance. Every mobile group studied by anthropologists keeps a downwind, downhill zone, far from where water is collected. Break that rule and you get whipworm. Trichuris eggs can stay viable in soil for years, waiting. Your ancestors did not know about eggs. They knew that a camp that smelled wrong made people sick, so they moved. That is 300,000 years of policy, enforced by a nose. Now to the fun part. What did they use? The honest answer is, whatever was within arm's reach. Water, first. Water is the oldest and by far the best solution. Billions of people still use water in the left hand today. That is the original method, and it never stopped working. Water came with a rule attached, and the rule is still enforced. One hand for that job, the other hand for food, for greeting, for touching another person. In large parts of South Asia, the Middle East, and Africa, handing someone an object with your left hand is still rude. That is a public health protocol running for thousands of years, encoded as manners. No microscope required, just a rule everybody obeys and nobody questions. Hold that thought when we get to the Romans. Then leaves, then moss, then grass, then snow, which sounds terrible and is reported as surprisingly effective. Sand, smooth river stones, seashells on the coast, corn cobs in the Americas later. We know about the moss because of a lump of preserved waste dug up in York, England. It is called the Lloyd's Bank coprolite. 9th century, Viking, about 20 centimeters long. Inside it, bran, moss fragments, and the eggs of whipworm and roundworm. In 1991, a museum staff member described it as the most valuable object of its kind, and it was insured for £39,000. Somebody's worst Tuesday of the year became a 9-century-old museum piece with a valuation. Then come the Greeks and Romans, who wrote things down and made it much stranger. Philippe Charlier published a study in 2012 on classical toilet hygiene. The Greeks used ceramic discs called pessoi, small ovals 3 to 10 centimeters wide, deliberately smoothed at the edges. Charlier's team examined them and found something better. Many of the discs were recycled ostraca. Ostraca were the pottery shards used for voting. Athenians scratched the name of a person they wanted thrown out of the city onto a piece of pottery. So, a Greek citizen could vote a rival out of town, wait a few years, then find that same shard in the latrine and get a second opinion. That is the most petty thing in the archaeological record, and I love it. Charlier also noted the medical cost. Ceramic is abrasive. The doctors of the period described irritation and local skin damage as a routine complaint. The Romans went further. They built the tersorium, a sea sponge tied to the end of a wooden stick, roughly 40 centimeters long. The sponge was communal. Read that again. Communal. You rinsed it in a channel of running water at your feet, sometimes with vinegar or salt water, and you passed it along. Roman public latrines like the one at Ostia had about 20 stone seats in a row. No partitions, no doors, no pause in the conversation. People sat shoulder to shoulder discussing business, in a stone room sharing one stick. Rome built aqueducts, underfloor heating, and concrete that is still standing, and it handed you the stick. They also decorated the room. At Ostia, there is a building called the Baths of the Seven Sages. On the wall, painted, are the great thinkers of Greece: Solon, Thales, Chilon, serious men, founders of Western philosophy. And above each one, a painted caption. The captions give the reader advice on how to go. They are not subtle. One sage recommends technique for a faster result. Rome put its greatest minds on the latrine wall to coach you through it. Here is the part that matters more than any of it. You were not designed to sit down for this. Not on a raised seat, not on a stone bench, not on porcelain. There is a muscle wrapped around your rectum called the puborectalis. It works like a sling. When you stand or sit upright, that sling pulls forward and creates a kink. The kink is the point. It holds everything in place while you go about your day. That kink is measurable. It is called the anorectal angle. Sitting, that angle sits near 90 degrees. The sling is still on. Squat down, and your hips flex past 90 degrees. The sling releases. The angle opens toward 126 degrees. The tube straightens out. For 300,000 years, every human on Earth got that angle for free, every single time, because there was nothing to sit on. You get it maybe never. And this is not theory. Somebody measured it. In 2003, a physician named Dov Sikharov ran a study on 28 volunteers, published in Digestive Diseases and Sciences. He gave each person 3 setups: a standard toilet, a lower toilet about 31 centimeters, and a plastic container on the floor, forcing a full squat. Then he timed them and recorded how hard they had to work. Standard toilet, 130 seconds on average. Lower toilet, 114 seconds. Full squat, 51 seconds. Same 28 people, same bodies, same week. 2.5 times faster in the position your species actually evolved in. Subjects also reported far less straining in the squat. Not slightly less, consistently less across the group. Your body is not broken. It is being operated in the wrong position by a very confident owner. Which brings us to the ugly part of this story. So, what ended it? Not paper. Paper came much later, and paper is not the villain here. What ended it was standing still. Around 12,000 years ago, people stopped walking away. They planted, they stored, they built, and they stayed. The camp could no longer leave the problem behind. The problem now lived at the address. Go to Çatalhöyük in Turkey, 9,000 years ago. Up to 8,000 people packed into mud brick houses. There were no streets. The houses were pressed against each other and people walked across the rooftops. Archaeologists found the waste in middens, open refuse heaps sitting between and beside the homes. 8,000 people. Rooftop traffic. Open heaps at ground level. Nobody in that town understood what was happening. They only knew people got sick more often than their grandparents had. Some people did try to fix it, and they tried early. Go to Skara Brae on Orkney off the north coast of Scotland. Stone houses built around 3100 BC. 8 houses, joined by covered passages, buried under sand for 4,000 years until a storm stripped it back in 1850. Set into the walls of several houses are small recesses. Underneath them run stone drains, leading away from the settlement. Archaeologists read those as toilets, 5,000 years old, indoors, in the Stone Age. Now go to Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley, around 2600 BC. Brick-lined drains ran down the middle of the streets, covered with stone slabs, with access points left open for cleaning. Most houses had a private washing area connected straight to that street drain. Estimates put the city near 40,000 people, running a working sewer. 2600 BC, 4,500 years ago. And then it was misplaced. The Indus cities declined, the drains filled with silt, and most of Europe would not see anything close for another 4,000 years. Progress is not a line. It is a series of good ideas being forgotten by the next people in the building. Then cities scaled it up. And here is where the story stops being intuitive. Rome had it all. Aqueducts bringing fresh water, the Cloaca Maxima carrying waste out, public latrines, public baths, laws about refuse in the streets. Rome should have been the healthiest place a human had ever lived. Piers Mitchell at Cambridge went looking for proof of that in 2017 in the journal Parasitology. He gathered the archaeological evidence for intestinal parasites across the Roman world. Latrine deposits, coprolites, burial soil samples. He expected the numbers to drop after Rome arrived. They did not drop. Whipworm and roundworm were as common under Roman sanitation as they had been in the Bronze Age. In some places, more common. Roman toilets, Roman baths, Roman law, and the worms were doing fine. Why? 3 reasons, and all 3 are the same reason. Human waste was collected and sold as crop fertilizer, straight back onto the food. Bath water was often changed rarely, and the warm pools were shared by everyone in town. And the sponge on the stick went from person to person all day. Rome built the plumbing and skipped germ theory, because germ theory was 1,800 years away. Then Rome fell, and the plumbing went with it. Medieval Europe had the garderobe, a stone seat built into an outer castle wall, sitting over a shaft. The shaft dropped down the outside of the wall, into the moat or a pit at the base. The word garderobe means guard the robe. People hung their clothing inside that shaft on purpose because the ammonia kept moths out of the wool. Your winter coat stored in the toilet as pest control. Ordinary towns used cesspits, and London wrote rules for them in 1189. A pit lined with stone had to sit at least 2.5 feet from your neighbor's wall. An unlined pit had to sit 3.5 feet away. That is a medieval city legislating 12 inches of soil as the line between acceptable and not. Emptying those pits was a paid trade. In England, the men who did it were called gong farmers. They were only allowed to work at night, and they earned several times what a common laborer earned in a day. Well-paid, legally nocturnal, and seated alone at every meal. One civilization looked at the whole problem and went the other way. Edo, now called Tokyo, held roughly 1 million people by 1700. One of the largest cities on Earth. It had no sewer network worth the name, and it was cleaner than London or Paris. The reason is money. In Japan, human waste was a commodity called night soil. Farmers bought it. Written contracts covered it. Landlords in Edo held the rights to the waste of their own tenants and sold it for income. There was a price ladder set by diet. Waste from wealthy districts sold higher because those households ate better. Your landlord profited from your dinner. Twice. Because somebody was paying for it, it left the city every single day, and it never sat in the street. The catch was the same catch as Rome's. It went on to vegetables, and Japan carried a heavy roundworm load into the 20th century. Rome had the engineering and lost. Edo had a market and did better with almost no pipes. That is the loss. Not comfort, not dignity. For 300,000 years, distance and movement kept your gut clean. Every layer of infrastructure we built after that replaced distance with a shared surface. And you are still paying for it. In numbers you can check on yourself. About 1 in 20 adults has symptomatic hemorrhoids right now. Past age 50, roughly half of people have them. Chronic constipation affects around 16% of adults worldwide, and about a third of people over 60. Those conditions are close to invisible in the archaeological record of mobile groups. Then, in the last 15 years, we found a way to make it worse. You brought a screen in there. A 2025 study out of Mass General Brigham looked at patients and asked one simple question. Do you use your phone on the toilet? The people who said yes had a 46% higher chance of having hemorrhoids. Not because the phone does anything, because it keeps you seated. Phone users routinely stayed over 6 minutes. That is more than 5 times the 51 seconds a squat needs. Your ancestors were out of there before your ad finishes loading. We traded 5 minutes of squatting in the open air for 20 years of scrolling on a pedestal, and most of us never even knew it was gone. Now the part everyone thinks this video is about, the paper. Paper arrives late, and it arrives in China. The first written mention is 589 AD. A scholar named Yan Zhitui writes that he will not use paper containing quotations from the sages for that purpose, which tells you 2 things. Paper was being used for it, and somebody had to say something. By 1393, the Ming court was industrial about it. Records describe 720,000 sheets produced for the imperial court in 1 year. For the emperor's own family, 15,000 sheets, softer and perfumed. Europe had to wait roughly 800 more years for the idea to arrive. In 1857, a New Yorker named Joseph Gaiety put the first commercial product on the American market. Medicated paper. 500 sheets for 50 cents. He printed his own name on every single sheet. The man was so proud of it, he signed it. It flopped. Americans had catalogs, and catalogs were free. The Sears catalog even came with a hole punched in the corner for hanging. Rolls arrived around 1890 from the Scott brothers, who were reportedly too embarrassed to put the family name on the product at first. And here's my favorite date in this entire story. In 1935, a company was still advertising its tissue as splinter-free. 1935. That is 4 years before the Second World War. Somebody's grandmother was alive, which means for decades the standard product had splinters in it, and the innovation was removing them. Today, the world uses about 27,000 trees a day for toilet paper. 27,000 trees, daily, for a problem your gluteus maximus invented while helping you run. And that is only part of the planet. The World Health Organization and UNICEF track this. Roughly 3.5 billion people still have no safely managed sanitation. About 419 million people have no facility at all and go in the open. Exactly the way every human did for 300,000 years. For them, none of this is history. It is Tuesday. The difference is that they are doing it in settlements of 30,000, not bands of 30. The old system only worked at the old scale. Now, what if none of that had happened? What if farming had never taken hold and we had all stayed in bands of 30? You would have fewer parasites and a much better anorectal angle. You would also have no cities, no writing, and no way to watch this. What if squat toilets had won in the West instead of the pedestal? Billions of people still use them. Their bodies are running the original configuration. What if the pedestal is genuinely just a chair with an opinion? Some of you are thinking, come on, ancient people must have been sick constantly. Life was filthy back then. Fair question. The evidence says the opposite of what you expect. Mobile groups of 25 to 30 people carried a low parasite load. Distance did the work. Parasite counts climb in the archaeological record when humans settle down and stack up. The village made it worse. The city made it worse again. Being dirty was never the danger. Being crowded and staying put was. Your ancestors did not have better hygiene than Rome. They had better geography. So, back to where we started. You are still the only ape on this planet that cannot clean itself. The difference is, you outsourced it. To a factory, a truck, a shelf, and 141 rolls a year. Your baboon cousin has never once thought about this. Not for 1 second in 25 million years. You think about it daily, you pay for it monthly, and your body still expects you to squat. One question for the comments, and be honest. What is the strangest thing you have ever had to use out in the woods? Leaves are the boring answer. I know somebody down there has a story about a sock.